Return to work can be conceptualised as a complex human behaviour change, with the injured worker having the final decision to return to work. These are some stats that I found when I was doing a bit of research on the crane industry. So these stats are Australia-wide, and they've come from the Centre for Work Health and Safety and the Victorian Government Gazette. So what we can see from this information is that from 2003 to 2015, there has been 47 crane-related fatalities, with an average of 240 crane-related serious injuries lodged in Australia each year. So that's, as I said, Australia-wide. So the Centre, after discovering these stats, the Centre for Work Health and Safety undertook some studies so they could better understand why this is happening and work towards putting measures in place to prevent or reduce these injuries from occurring. So from the studies, what they found was that the main cause of the incidents are human error. It's equipment design, maintenance and use. So this comes down to either poorly designed equipment, so from the manufacturer, or the equipment's not being used. The equipment being used is not fit for purpose, or the equipment is not being maintained as well as it should be, or it's not being used as per the recommended standards. So what your aim is you want to keep those statistical case estimates down, because that's what's driving your premiums up. All right, so if you do have a claim, the best thing you can do is keep them at work, because, you know, as the title of this webinar is called, lost time leads to lost money. So the longer someone's off work, the more your premiums are being driven up. So by the end of this webinar, my aim is to inform you how you can better do that. I also hope to explain to you what premiums are, what is a claim, your obligations, what to do following the event of a workplace injury, sourcing suitable duties and effective return to work planning. So that's what I'm aiming to go through with you. So we'll start with how premiums are calculated. So if you have a remuneration of above $200,000 per year, it's likely you'll have an employer performance rating. The easiest and most effective way to bring your premiums down is to either not have any claims or to manage them really well. So be supportive of your work. So what is a claim? So the concept of a workplace injury is that it happened at work. So sometimes work can be a significant contributing factor, meaning employment has significantly contributed to the occurrence of the injury. To decide whether or not to contest that claim, what the agent will be doing is they'll be asking 3 questions, all right? So this is what you can ask as well, is number 1, is the person an employee of the employer? So do they work for you? Number 2, did they suffer an injury? Because if there's no injury, there's no claim. And then the third one is, was the person working for you at the time they sustained the injury? So then when we look at examples of outside of the course of employment, so that's when we need to consider that the worker may be acting in the course of employment, or they may not be acting, in the course of employment, or may be exempt from claiming compensation. So it is, as I said, it's important that you can prove this and then use the evidence when you're putting forward your claim lodgement. Here in Victoria, and I think most states do this as well, there are certain obligations that employers must meet, and one of them is to provide your workforce with return to work information. So most of that information you can put on that what to do when you're injured at work poster. Otherwise, how you do that, how you provide this information is up to you. A lot of it is available on the WorkSafe website. Other obligations that you have as an employer. So it's really important that what you do following the event of an injury, it's really important that you get that right, because that can be the difference between that early, safe and sustainable return to work and driving your premiums down, compared to a long-term claim that may drive your premiums up. So the first thing that you need to do is to make sure that everyone knows what to do if an incident leading to an injury occurs at your workplace. And I know that these sound like small things, but getting it right at the start of the injury will make a massive difference. I've seen this being done really, really well, and I've also seen it being done really, really poorly. So I know these things sound small, but these can be really big things as the claim progresses on. It's also important to know, if you've got HSRs, do they want to be notified of injuries? If you've got no HS team, just let them know, give them the heads up that an incident has occurred, and you might want to get them to investigate that. And it's really important that you inform and support. So keep the claim and the injury separate. You want to manage the risk, all right? So after the event, so after the injury has happened, there's a few steps that you can follow to make sure you're getting it right. And then the aim, as I said, is to aim for that successful, safe and sustainable return to work. So at a basic level, these steps should be: report the injury, investigate the injury, assess the risk and control the risk. So we're steps because the aim is, as far as is reasonably practicable, to prevent the same injury from occurring again. So that's what you're aiming to do. And then you're starting your injury management, so your return to work processes. So what you want to do is you want to identify what the worker can do with the capacity that they have, because you want to keep them at work wherever you can. All right, and then a lot of the time they'll tell you what they think needs to be in place, and then you can start that negotiation process from there. So if a worker has no capacity for work, you should still plan the worker's return to work and continue to do so in anticipation of their return to work. And then you need to start planning for their return to work. So a return to work plan itself is not mandatory, but return to work planning in conjunction with the worker is. It's really important to know your work environment as well. And then, as I said here, how to plan for someone's return. I'd certainly be, putting all measures in place to keep them there, because that's what you want to do. Because, as I said, lost time is lost money. So the more the claim is costing, the more your premiums are going up. And income maintenance is typically the biggest cost driver for each claim. So keeping them at work is likely that's going to be what's going to drive your premiums down rather than driving them up. It's also good for your worker too, for their long-term health and well-being, because being at good work is better for our health than not being at work. So I've just put up here, just showing you an example of what a graded return to work plan may look like. As you can see here, we're slowly increasing this worker's hours on a fortnightly basis. And with my plans, I'd also include a section of what duties they actually can do and any aid, supports or modifications that we're providing them.